Dart Skill presents Adding Fractions 2. Recall from previous video that you can add two or more fractions on the same denominator by adding the numerators and keeping the denominator unchanged. For example, if you want to add 1/3 with 1/3, you do a 1 plus 1 on the top and keep the same denominator, that's 3. And the answer is 2/3 or 2/3. Similarly, 3/7 plus 2/7 is equal to 3 plus 2 on the top, 7 on the bottom, that's equal to 5/7. But then how do you add two fractions that have different denominators? For example, how would you add 1/2 with 1/3? If you think you could still do a 1 plus 1 on the top, then what do you write on the bottom? It's a 2 over here and it's a 3 over here. They're not the same. So to be able to do this addition, you need to have both fractions on the same denominator first. Only then you could add them up. So you would need to use your knowledge on equivalent fractions and have same denominator on both fractions, and only then you could say, okay, I have the same denominator on both my fractions and I could add them up by adding up the numerators and keeping the denominator unchanged. And to get the two fractions on the same denominator, you need to find the LCM, or the least common multiple of the two denominators. LCM of the denominators, also called the least common denominator, or LCD, of the fractions involved. The LCM of 2 and 3 is 6. So your job is to change both fractions to something over 6 using the idea of equivalent fraction. And if you look at the first fraction, we have a 2 here that needs to be changed to a 6, which means you need to multiply this with 3. And if you do that, multiply the denominator of a fraction with a certain number, in order to keep the fraction unchanged, you got to do the same with the numerator. And to change this 3 to a 6, you multiply that with 2, and therefore multiply the numerator of that fraction with 2 as well. So we say 1/2 is equivalent to 3/6, and 1/3 is equivalent to 2/6. And now that you have got them on the same denominator, you could do a 3 plus 2 on the top and keep the 6 on the bottom. So this is equal to 5/6. Similarly, to add the fractions 2/3 and 1/4, your first job is to figure out that the least common denominator of the two fractions, or the least common multiple of the two denominators, is 12. The LCM of 3 and 4 is 12. In other words, 12 is the smallest number that both 3 and 4 can go into, and therefore you want to multiply this with 4 so that you have a 12 over here, and do the same on the numerator, and multiply 4 with 3 to get a 12, and multiply the numerator with 3 as well. So you have an equivalent form of 2/3 as 2 times 4, that's 8/12, plus an equivalent form of 1/4, which is 3/12. And now that you have the same denominator, you could say, okay, this is 8 plus 3 on the top, 12 on the bottom, which is 11/12. To add two mixed numbers together, let's say for example you want to add 1 and 1/2 plus 2 and 1/3, you could add the whole numbers together. So you do an addition of 1 plus 2, you get a 3 here, plus add the fractions 1/2 plus 1/3. LCM of 2 and 3 is 6. Therefore change this to a 6. 2 times 3 is 6. times the numerator with 3 and change this 3 to a 6 times 2 on the top as well. Therefore, this is equal to 3 plus 3 over 6 plus 2 over 6, which is equal to 3 plus 2 over 6, just like we did on the previous problem or the one before that. So this is equal to 3 plus 5 over 6, written as 3 wholes and 5/6. And if the two fractions add up to an improper fraction, you want to change that to a mixed number as well. For example, if you had to add, let's say, 3 and 4/5 with 2 and a half, add the whole numbers together, so you get 3 plus 2, that's 5. So this is equal to 5 plus 4/5 plus 1/2. The LCM, or the least common multiple of 5 and 2, is 10. In other words, 10 is the smallest number that 5 and 2 can both go into. So you want to change this and this to 10. 5 times 2 is 10. Multiply the 4 with 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Multiply the 1 with 5. And you get 5 plus 4 times 2 is 8 tenths plus 1 times 5 is 5 tenths. And this is equal to 5 plus 8 plus 5, that's 13 over 10. Now this is an improper fraction. Therefore, you want to change this to another mixed number. And this is going to be equal to 5 plus 13 divided by 10 is 1 whole, and the remainder is 3, and you have the same denominator, 10. So this is equal to 5 plus another whole, it's this whole, plus 3 over 10, which simplifies to 5 plus 1 is 6 and 3 tenths. That's how you add mixed numbers.